Ivanka doesn't even finish adjusting her microphone before Jasmine Crockett fires the first question. Let's start simple. Crockett says. How often do you speak with your father, privately? Ivanka's jaw stops moving. Her hand freezes mid-gesture. The studio lights don't blink, but she does twice fast, like her brain missed a step. Well, that depends on... She starts. Don't explain yet, Crockett cuts in. Just answer. How often? A murmur runs through the audience. The producers stiffen. Ivanka looks off camera as if someone can save her. No one moves. Sometimes daily, Ivanka says carefully. Sometimes less. Crockett leans back like she expected that answer and hates it. So you are in regular private contact, she says. That's good. Because today we'll be talking about those private conversations. Ivanka's back straightens like someone pulled invisible strings through her spine. What conversations? She asks. You'll see, Crockett replies. And Ivanka, try not to freeze up on me, we're just getting started. Ivanka's throat bobs. The cameras zoom in. The country leans closer. Crockett lifts a thin blue folder and places it in front of her. She doesn't open it. She wants Ivanka to stare at it, fear it, imagine what's inside. Ivanka's eyes lock onto the folder like it's a snake. This file, Crockett says, tapping it lightly, contains transcripts of discussions involving you and your father. Some recorded, some written, some recently leaked. Ivanka's fingers curl tightly on the table. You have recordings? She asks, voice sharper than before. I didn't say that. Crockett smiles. I said transcripts. Ivanka swallows hard. Who leaked them? That's not the point, Crockett replies. The point is the content. The audience reacts again, whispers rising like a wave. Ivanka looks directly into the camera for the first time, as if trying to send a message to someone watching. Crockett notices. Don't do that, she says. Don't look for help. Today is between you and me. Ivanka finally speaks with more force. This feels like an ambush. Ambush? Crockett repeats. Ivanka, this is an interview you agreed to. The only surprise is that you thought the questions would stay soft. Crockett finally opens the folder. Ivanka's face drains of color. Crockett slides a paper forward, stopping it halfway across the table so Ivanka can read only the first line. This is from a conversation between you and your father, Crockett says. Let me read it aloud. Ivanka shakes her head. You're taking something out of context. You haven't even heard what I'm reading. Ivanka closes her mouth. Crockett continues. You know how people talk about us. You know the things they say. Ivanka's eyes widen. Her breath catches. Crockett keeps reading. I don't care what they think. I only care about what you tell me. Ivanka's lips part slightly, but no sound comes out. Crockett stops reading and looks up at her. Ivanka, do you want to explain this line? Ivanka touches her forehead, pushing her hair back even though nothing is out of place. That was a private conversation, she says. Yes, Crockett replies. That's why it matters. Private conversations reveal truth. Public statements are rehearsed. Ivanka tenses. That line wasn't about what you think. Oh? Crockett lifts her brows. Then tell us what it was about. Ivanka hesitates too long. Way too long. The silence becomes a blade pressed against her composure. It was about rumors. Ivanka finally says. Not reality. Crockett leans forward. Rumors about what, exactly? Ivanka freezes again. The entire room sees it. Crockett doesn't let up. Tell the viewers at home what rumors you were talking about with your father. Ivanka forces a breath. People say inappropriate things about me and him. We talked about that, that's all. Crockett studies her face. And why did he tell you he didn't care what people think? Why did he say he only cared about what you tell him? Ivanka looks down. Her hands shake. The studio audience shifts, sensing something cracking open. Crockett raises her hand to the control booth. Play clip 1. Ivanka jerks forward. Wait. What clip? Too late. The studio screens light up. A leaked behind-the-scenes moment plays. Donald Trump is sitting in a green room talking to an aide. Unaware a background camera is rolling, he says Ivanka's name. Not casually, not like a father. Ivanka shuts her eyes tightly as if bracing for impact. Trump continues in the clip. Voice lowered. She always tells me the truth. I trust her more than anyone. She understands me better than anyone. The aide replies. People say that relationship looks different. Trump waves it off. Let them talk. They don't get us. The clip ends. Silence. Ivanka's breathing grows uneven. Crockett speaks softly now, but the gentleness makes the pressure worse. How long have comments like that been happening, Ivanka? Ivanka snaps her eyes open. You're twisting everything. Crockett shakes her head. I'm showing what's already out there. The public sees this clip. They hear your father. They see the way he talks about you. They see the way you freeze when asked about it. Ivanka grips her hands together so tightly her knuckles turn pale. You're trying to humiliate me, she whispers. No, Crockett replies. I'm trying to find the truth. A woman in the audience raises her hand. The producers don't stop her. Everyone wants to hear what she will ask. Crockett nods toward her. Go ahead. The woman stands. Ivanka, when we hear your father talk like that, and see you react like this, how do you expect people not to question the relationship? Ivanka exclaims. Because it's twisted. People interpret everything wrong. The woman doesn't back down. Then explain it clearly. Ivanka opens her mouth, closes it. Her throat works like she's trying to swallow a stone. Crockett turns to her again. This is your chance to clarify. Your chance to stop speculation. Your chance to end the whispers. Ivanka stares at her lap. I can't control what people assume, she finally mutters. Crockett tilts her head. But you can control how you respond to questions. And right now, you're avoiding them. Ivanka's eyes flick upward. They are wet, but she isn't crying. She's holding everything in so tightly it looks painful. Crockett closes the folder slowly. No more papers. No more clips. Just one brutal question left hanging in the air. Ivanka, have you ever felt uncomfortable with how your father speaks about you? Ivanka's chin trembles. Her silence becomes an answer in itself. Crockett watches her carefully. Your reaction says more than any transcript ever could. Ivanka shakes her head quickly. No, I don't feel uncomfortable. I just feel tired of the attacks. Crockett doesn't blink. But you froze. You froze when I mentioned private conversations. You froze during the clip. You froze before answering. Ivanka whispers. Because this topic is poisonous. Anything I say gets twisted. Then untwist it, Crockett replies. Ivanka looks at her, eyes full of something between fear and frustration. You don't understand my family. Then help me understand, Crockett says. Help the viewers understand. Ivanka's mouth opens slightly. But no words come. The cameras catch everything. Crockett raises another sheet. Ivanka flinches. This part, Crockett says, is from another leaked conversation. This one between you and a close family friend. Ivanka presses her palm flat against the table, grounding herself. I want to state, she says through clenched teeth, that these leaks are illegal. Maybe, Crockett replies. But they're public now. She reads. He treats me like I'm the only one who understands him. It gets overwhelming. Ivanka slams her eyes shut again. Crockett continues. Sometimes I wish he didn't depend on me so much. It feels like too much weight. Crockett lowers the page. The audience watches Ivanka like she might break. Did you say those words? Crockett asks. Ivanka stays silent. Did you say your father depends on you too much? Still silence. Did you say it feels overwhelming? Ivanka's fists tighten. Finally she whispers. Yes. I said that. And why? Ivanka breathes slowly, carefully, as if any wrong movement might crack her open. Because it's true, she says. He leans on me, more than anyone realizes. Crockett waits. Ivanka continues, voice shaky, and sometimes, I don't know what to do with that. The audience reacts with a collective gasp. Crockett nods. That honesty? That's what I've been trying to get from you. Ivanka bites down on her lip, holding herself together. Crockett softens her tone. Ivanka, I'm not accusing you of wrongdoing. I'm asking how this dynamic affects you. Ivanka stares down at the table. My father always pulls me into things, she says quietly. Into situations. Into conversations. Into expectations. What kind of expectations? Crockett asks. Ivanka hesitates again. This time, though, the hesitation feels different, less defensive, more revealing. He expects me to support him, she says. Even when I don't want to. Even when it feels wrong. Even when the public starts assuming things. Crockett leans forward. Ivanka, do you feel trapped? Ivanka doesn't answer immediately. Her chest rises and falls. Finally, sometimes, the word lands like a thunderclap. The studio is dead silent. Crockett speaks gently. Is that why you freeze when asked about him? Because you're caught between loyalty and discomfort. Ivanka looks up. Her eyes shine with trapped emotion. I freeze, she says, because I can't say what I really feel. Not without blowing up everything. Crockett nods slowly. Then today might change everything. Ivanka shifts in her seat, bracing herself. Crockett pulls out one more document. Ivanka tenses, but Crockett lifts her free hand. This isn't a leak, she says. It's not a transcript. It's something you said, publicly. But most people never noticed. Ivanka frowns. Crockett reads. My father calls me more than anyone else in the family. Ivanka watches her cautiously. Crockett continues, he always wants my opinion. He always wants my reaction. She sets the paper down. Why do you think he chooses you, Crockett asks, and not his sons? Not his advisors? Not anyone else? Ivanka inhales sharply. Because he trusts me. That's part of it, Crockett agrees. But trust isn't the whole story. Ivanka looks confused. What do you mean? Crockett folds her hands. He doesn't just trust you. He relies on you emotionally. You're his anchor, his reassurance, his mirror. Ivanka's face goes still. Crockett presses on. And that puts you in a position no daughter should ever have to fill. Ivanka slowly shakes her head. You're twisting this. Then untwist it, Crockett says again. Ivanka falls silent, eyes distant. Something inside her is unraveling. Ivanka pushes her chair back slightly. Maybe this interview was a mistake, she says. Crockett lifts a brow. Why leave now? We're finally getting somewhere real. You're crossing a line, Ivanka insists. No, Crockett replies, calm and steady. I'm showing you the line you've been walking your entire life. Ivanka's breathing becomes shaky again. The audience watches, torn between shock and sympathy. You don't know what my family is like behind closed doors, Ivanka says. Then tell us, Crockett challenges. Tell us instead of hiding behind silence. Ivanka's jaw clenches. You want details? You want to expose every complicated thing? She asks. I want truth, Crockett answers. Ivanka stares at her for a long, trembling moment. A moment where she almost stands up, almost walks off, almost snaps. But she doesn't. Instead, she sits back down and whispers, you have no idea how heavy it is. Crockett nods slowly. Then explain the weight. Ivanka swallows hard and begins to speak. When people talk about my relationship with him, Ivanka says, they act like it's simple. It's not. Nothing about him is simple. Crockett waits. My father has always relied on me emotionally. Ivanka continues. Even when I was younger, even when it wasn't fair, he would talk to me about things he should have talked about with adults, not with his daughter. The studio gasps quietly. Ivanka keeps going. And the older I got, the more he depended on me. He would ask for my thoughts, my reactions, my guidance, sometimes my comfort. Crockett nods gently. That's a lot to place on a child. Ivanka looks pained. It didn't feel wrong at the time. It felt normal. It felt like my responsibility. But as I grew older, people started to interpret it in ways that made me uncomfortable. The word uncomfortable hangs heavy. And when those rumors started, Ivanka says softly, I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how to distance myself from something I didn't create. Crockett studies her face. Is that why your body freezes when the topic comes up? Ivanka nods slowly. Yes. Because I'm stuck between protecting him and protecting myself. Crockett leans forward, voice calm but direct. Ivanka, do you ever feel like your father treats you less like a daughter and more like something else he depends on? Ivanka stiffens. That's not fair. She mutters. It's a question, Crockett replies. Not an accusation. Ivanka's breath trembles as she exhales. The cameras zoom in again. She knows the whole country is watching her face, waiting for the slightest crack. It's complicated, she finally says. Crockett shakes her head. Complicated isn't an answer. It's a shield. Ivanka closes her eyes for a moment. Her voice comes out low. He puts emotional weight on me that a parent shouldn't put on a child. But he's not doing it on purpose. He doesn't realize it. Crockett's expression softens. So you feel responsible for his feelings? Ivanka nods weakly. I always have. And do you think that has affected the way people see your relationship with him? Ivanka's silence hits harder than a confession. Crockett lets the silence stretch before she speaks again. I want to read something else, she finally says. Ivanka's jaw tightens. Another leak? No, Crockett answers. This one is from a documentary crew. A moment filmed years ago, but cut from the final edit. Ivanka's face flickers with uncertainty. Crockett reads, in the clip your father tells a staff member, she's the only one who understands me. The others don't get me like she does. Ivanka drops her gaze again. Her fingers interlock, gripping each other so tightly the skin turns white. Crockett places the paper down. Why does he say things like that, Ivanka? Why do you think he singles you out emotionally, even in professional settings? Ivanka speaks so softly, the microphones barely catch it. Because he feels safest with me. And is that healthy? Crockett asks. Ivanka doesn't answer. The audience watches her chest rise and fall, each breath heavier than the last. Crockett continues gently. You look like someone who has carried things for too long. Ivanka blinks fast, holding back emotion she refuses to show. You don't understand, she says. If I say the wrong thing here, everything changes. Everything. Crockett leans forward. Maybe it needs to. Ivanka freezes again. Crockett raises her hand to the control booth. Play clip 2. Ivanka whispers, please don't. The video rolls anyway. This time, it's Ivanka in a hallway with her father. He reaches toward her hair and adjusts a lock behind her ear. She steps back slightly, but he follows the movement with his hand. The clip ends there. Short, silent, damaging. The audience reacts instantly. Ivanka closes her eyes like she's just been punched. Crockett waits. Do you want to explain that moment? Ivanka opens her eyes slowly. He was fixing my hair. That's it. Crockett nods. But you stepped back, and he followed. Why? Ivanka's voice cracks. I don't know. Maybe I was uncomfortable. Maybe I wasn't. It happened so fast. But you froze before answering, Crockett says. Ivanka stares at her, frustration building. Because the entire world twists every little thing. Crockett replies calmly, no. The world reacts to what it sees. Ivanka breathes out shakily. You're making it sound like something it's not. Then tell us, Crockett says. Tell us exactly what it is. Ivanka's lips tremble. She doesn't speak. A man in the front row raises his hand. Crockett nods. Go ahead. He stands. Ivanka, do you ever feel like your father's behavior crosses personal boundaries, even if he doesn't mean to? Ivanka looks stunned. I know. Maybe. She fumbles. He's my father. The man nods slowly. Exactly. And some things a father shouldn't do. Ivanka's eyebrows pull together. She looks small for the first time, like someone who never learned how to answer these questions because no one ever asked them out loud. Crockett looks at her. Do you feel safe being honest right now? Ivanka gives a faint, tight nod. Crockett speaks softly. Then let yourself be honest. Ivanka swallows hard. I feel confused. A lot. About what's normal. About what's not. When you grow up in a world where everything is blurred, you don't know where the lines are. The audience goes silent. Even the cameras seem to hold still. Crockett folds her hands. Ivanka, earlier you said you felt overwhelmed by his emotional dependence. I want to ask you something directly. Ivanka braces herself, lifting her chin slightly. Do you sometimes feel like you're responsible for his moods, his reactions, his emotional stability? Ivanka's voice breaks. Yes. And is that something a daughter should feel? Ivanka whispers, no. She wipes a tear before it escapes fully. Crockett lowers her voice. Ivanka, this isn't about attacking you. It's about understanding you. Ivanka nods faintly. I know, it just hurts. What hurts? Ivanka stares at the table as if the truth is written in the wood grain. Knowing that people think there's something sick about our relationship, she says, and not knowing how to stop that without betraying him. Crockett breathes in. So you freeze because you're trapped between protecting him and protecting yourself. Ivanka nods again. The audience exhales like they were holding their breath too. Crockett shifts forward. Let me ask you something more difficult. Ivanka tenses instantly. Has your father ever said things to you about your appearance, your presence, your closeness, that made you feel uncomfortable? Ivanka looks like she's been hit. Her lips part. Her breath stops. She doesn't blink. Crockett waits. Ivanka finally speaks. Yes. The audience reacts immediately, gasps, murmurs, shock rippling through the room. Crockett keeps her tone calm. Can you tell us what kind of things? Ivanka's voice is small. Comments, comparisons, jokes he thought were harmless. Things a father shouldn't say. Did you tell him they made you uncomfortable? No, Ivanka whispers. Because he wouldn't understand. He doesn't think he does anything wrong. Crockett nods slowly. And that's the problem, isn't it? He doesn't see the boundary. Ivanka covers her mouth with her hand, overwhelmed. Yes, she finally says. He doesn't see it. Crockett allows Ivanka a moment, but not too long. Has anyone in your family ever confronted him about this? She asks. Ivanka shakes her head. No, they don't want to upset him. They avoid conflict. So the burden falls on you, Crockett says. Ivanka nods miserably. And that's why you freeze, Crockett continues. Not because you're hiding something wrong, but because you're hiding how much it affects you. Ivanka whispers, yes. Crockett gently places the folder aside. Thank you for saying that. Ivanka wipes beneath her eyes, forcing herself to stay composed. I'm not the person people think I am, she says. I'm not this confident, untouchable figure. I'm just someone trying to survive a complicated family. The audience softens toward her. A few nod, a few look sad. Crockett leans in. And today, for the first time, people are seeing you, the real you. Ivanka exhales shakily. Crockett watches her carefully. Ivanka, do you want distance from him? Ivanka looks shocked at the bluntness. I can't answer that. Why not? Because it sounds like betrayal. Crockett shakes her head. It sounds like truth. Ivanka stares at her trembling hands. I want boundaries, she whispers. I want space. I want to feel like my own person. And does he allow that? Ivanka's silence returns. Crockett lifts her brows. That's your answer. Ivanka's shoulders slump. I don't know how to separate myself, she admits. Every time I try, he pulls me back in. Emotion tightens her voice. He doesn't mean harm, but he needs too much from me. More than a father should. Crockett nods. And you've carried that for decades. Ivanka nods weakly again. Crockett folds her arms gently over the table. Ivanka, the public has always wondered why you freeze on questions about him, why you hesitate, why you look terrified. Today you told us everything. Ivanka looks at her, eyes red. I'm not terrified, she whispers. I'm exhausted. Crockett nods. Exhausted from holding your family together? Ivanka doesn't deny it. Exhausted from defending things you shouldn't have to defend? Ivanka nods. Exhausted from protecting him at the cost of your own peace? Ivanka whispers, yes. The audience watches, silent and riveted. Crockett speaks carefully. If you could say one thing to him privately, without cameras, without pressure, without consequences, what would you say? Ivanka breathes in deeply. The question tears something inside her open. She closes her eyes. When she speaks, her voice is raw. I would tell him to stop leaning on me. The room goes still. I would tell him to see me as his daughter, she continues. Not as his emotional shield. She wipes a tear that escapes despite her efforts. I would tell him I need space. Crockett's expression softens. That's the honest truth you've been holding back for years. Ivanka nods, broken by the weight of saying it aloud. A middle-aged woman stands up. Ivanka, she says gently, you aren't responsible for his emotions. You never were. Ivanka looks stunned to hear that from a stranger. Another audience member stands. You deserve to have your own life. A third rises. You don't owe him everything. Ivanka covers her mouth as more and more audience members rise, not attacking her, not accusing her, but supporting her, not for her politics, not for her last name, but for her humanity. Crockett lets the moment breathe. Ivanka looks around, overwhelmed. For the first time in the entire interview, the freezing stops. She doesn't look terrified. She looks relieved. Crockett waits for the audience to sit again before she speaks. Ivanka, after everything discussed today, after the clips, the leaks, the questions, you revealed something important. Ivanka blinks, listening. You're not frozen because you're guilty, Crockett says. You're frozen because you're conflicted. Ivanka nods slowly. So here's my final question, Crockett says. And it's the one the entire country wants answered. Ivanka braces herself. Do you want a life separate from him? Ivanka does not speak immediately. She doesn't freeze this time. She thinks, really thinks. Finally, she nods once. A small nod, a careful nod, a nod filled with quiet truth. Yes, Ivanka says. I want my own life. The audience gasps. Producers stare. Phones across the country light up as viewers scramble to capture the moment. Crockett leans forward slightly. Then today is your first step. Ivanka's lips part, stunned at her own confession. Crockett reaches across the table, not to attack, but to offer something rare in political television, understanding. You didn't come here to confess anything scandalous, she says. You came here thinking it would be a normal interview, but your truth came out because your body couldn't hold it anymore. Ivanka breathes out slowly. Maybe I needed this. Crockett nods. The world needed clarity, and you needed release. Ivanka sits back, shoulders no longer rigid. She looks like someone who finally said something she should have said years ago. The audience remains silent, waiting for whatever comes next. Crockett looks into the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, you just witnessed something rare. An honest moment in a political family. Ivanka looks down, not embarrassed but relieved. A weight lifted, a truth spoken, a freeze finally broken. Crockett thanks Ivanka for staying through the hardest interview of her life. Ivanka nods, still catching her breath. Before the cameras fade, Crockett says one last thing. Whatever people think after today, at least they'll know your side. Your truth. Not rumors. Not speculation. Just your voice. Ivanka nods again. This time stronger. When the cameras finally cut, she sits there for a moment staring at the table, letting everything settle. A producer approaches. Are you okay? Ivanka nods slowly. For the first time in a long time, yes. She stands. She walks off stage. Not frozen, not trembling, but lighter. As if for the first time in decades, the weight is no longer hers alone. Ivanka steps into the hallway outside the studio, and the silence shocks her. No cameras. No lights, no voices calling her name. Just the low hum of the building and her own heartbeat finally slowing down. For a moment she stands still, leaning against the wall, letting the cool air hit her face. She didn't expect the interview to go that way. She didn't expect to say what she said. She didn't expect to feel lighter. Her assistant approaches carefully, not rushing, not pushing, almost afraid she might shatter. Ivanka, do you want a car brought around? She shakes her head. Not yet. She starts walking down the hallway, the sound of her heels steady and controlled for the first time in hours. Each step feels like shedding something she's been carrying, something no one saw but everyone guessed at. Halfway down the hall, she stops at a window looking out over the city. The lights look ordinary tonight. Her reflection does not. She barely recognizes the woman staring back at her. Someone who finally said the truth out loud. Someone who didn't freeze. Someone who admitted she needed space from the one person she was never allowed to distance herself from. Her assistant steps closer. Do you regret anything you said? Ivanka thinks for a long moment. No, she finally answers. I regret hiding it for so long. The assistant nods slowly, surprised but understanding. The world is already reacting. The studio phones are blowing up. I know, Ivanka says. They always do. But this time she doesn't panic. This time she doesn't imagine her father calling her, demanding explanations, reassurance, loyalty. This time she feels something close to courage. She walks toward the exit. Outside the doors, she knows there will be cameras and reporters asking 1,000 questions she's not ready to answer. She knows headlines will twist her words. She knows people will take sides. But for once she doesn't feel trapped between protecting herself and protecting him. For once, she finally said something for her. When she reaches the exit doors, she pauses again. She whispers something softly to herself. Something no microphone will ever catch. I'm not his shield anymore. Then she pushes the door open and steps outside, not hiding behind sunglasses, not ducking her head, not freezing. Reporters yell her name, but she keeps walking, steady and calm. For the first time in her life, the world feels loud, but she feels clear, and that clarity is the beginning of everything she was too afraid to imagine before today.